before the world starts talking to you, before the emails, the expectations, the noise. You need to talk to yourself, and not just with any words, but with power, because the way you start your morning is the way you show up for your life. So let's stop starting our days by default and start them on purpose. Here are 4 powerful things to tell yourself every single morning to take back control, confidence, and clarity. You wake up, the alarm buzzes, and before your feet even hit the ground, your brain starts downloading every notification, every responsibility, every little thing that might go wrong today. Sound familiar? Here's the truth. Most people wake up and immediately start reacting. Reacting to the phone, reacting to stress, reacting to people's expectations. And when you live in that reactive mode, you're handing over your power before the day has even started. But let me remind you of something simple and powerful. You are in control of your energy, not your circumstances. We don't get to control what's going to happen today. Traffic might be awful. Someone at work might push your buttons. Your plans might get completely derailed. That's life. It's unpredictable. But what we do get to control is the energy we bring into it. We choose how we show up. That's not just motivation talk. It's a daily discipline. Your energy is the thermostat, not the thermometer. You don't just reflect what's happening around you. You set the tone. When chaos walks into the room, you don't have to match it. You can meet it with calm. You can meet it with clarity. You can meet it with the decision that you are going to respond instead of react. Think about that. How many days have been hijacked by something small because we didn't pause to protect our energy? Somebody cuts us off in traffic, and we carry that mood all the way into our meeting. One negative comment online, and we start spiraling. Why? Because we gave away our energy like it was free. But it's not. Your energy is expensive. It costs too much to waste on things that don't build you. This is why telling yourself every morning, if I am in control of my energy, not my circumstances, isn't just a nice phrase. It's a reset button. It reminds you that you are the driver, not the passenger. The outside world might be noisy, but you get to decide what kind of day you're going to have, not because the day is perfect, but because you're grounded. And look, being in control of your energy doesn't mean being fake. It doesn't mean pretending you're not tired or overwhelmed or frustrated. It means you acknowledge those things, but you don't let them run the show. You don't let your emotions do all the talking. You step back, you breathe, and you respond with purpose. Because when you take charge of your energy, you create a buffer between stimulus and response. That's where your power lies. That split second, that moment of choice, that's where you take the wheel. And the more you do that, the more natural it becomes. The calmer you stay, the clearer you think. The clearer you think, the better you lead. Whether you're leading a team, a family, or just yourself through a tough season, that calm energy, it's contagious. People feel it. They trust it. And it starts to shift not just your own life, but the atmosphere around you. But it starts with that morning moment. Before the world gets loud, before people try to tell you who you should be or how you should feel, you tell yourself, I'm in control here. Not of everything, but of something. Of me. Of how I choose to carry this day. Well, and some days, that's all you need. Just enough space to reclaim your ground. Just enough stillness to move forward with peace. Just enough power to respond instead of react. Because when you take responsibility for your energy, you take responsibility for your life. Some mornings, before the sun is even fully up, we already feel behind. Behind on work, behind on goals, behind on expectations we didn't even set for ourselves. We start the day measuring how much we've done or how much we still have to do, and somewhere along the line, we tie that directly to our worth. If we're productive, we feel good. If we're not, we feel like we've failed. But here's the reality that too many of us forget. Your value isn't measured by your productivity. You are not a machine. You're not built just to perform, to produce, to power through. You're a human being, and that already makes you worthy. We live in a culture that tells us to grind, to hustle, to keep pushing until we have nothing left to give, and then to give some more. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with working hard. There's something beautiful about commitment, discipline, and consistency. But when we attach our identity to what we have do instead of who we are, we lose the ability to rest, to slow down, to be. Some of you feel guilty for taking a break. You can't sit down without thinking about the next task or worrying that you're wasting time. And I get that. But rest isn't lazy. It's necessary. Just like your phone needs to recharge, so do you. And not just to go harder tomorrow, but because you're allowed to simply exist without producing something. You don't have to earn rest by burning out. You don't have to prove your value by being busy. Busy doesn't always mean productive, and productive doesn't always mean fulfilled. We've got a lot of people out here getting things done, checking every box, and still feeling empty. Why? Because deep down, they're chasing something that can't be found on a to-do list: worth. You were valuable before you ever answered an email, closed a sale, met a deadline, or crossed a goal off your board. You had value when you were still, when you were quiet, when you were just being. And you still do. So when you wake up, instead of asking, what do I have to do today to feel good about myself? Try asking, how can I honor myself today no matter what I get done? That shift might feel small, but it's powerful. It changes the way you move. It gives you room to show up without the pressure to perform. We're not supposed to be constantly proving ourselves. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause, to say, I am enough right now, even in this moment where I haven't accomplished anything yet today. That's not arrogance. That's truth. That's a quiet confidence that doesn't need validation to stand tall. Now, I know some people around you might not understand that. They've tied your value to how much you do for them, how quickly you respond, how much you produce. But their expectations don't get to define your worth. And neither do your own inner critics that tell you you're not doing enough, you are not behind, you are not failing, you are becoming. The real goal isn't to be the most productive version of yourself. It's to be the most present, the most grounded, the most whole. That's what people around you really need. That's what you need. Your presence is more powerful than your performance. And yes, show up. Yes, do the work. Yes, push yourself when you can. But do it from a place of already being worthy, not trying to earn worth with every task, because you are not what you do. We all have those days where it feels like everything is working against us. The plan falls through. The opportunity slips away. The door that looked wide open suddenly slams shut. And in that moment, it's easy to think, why me? Why now? What did I do wrong? We start to see the setback as a sign that we're off course, that maybe we're not cut out for this, or that it's just not meant to be. But what if that setback isn't there to stop you? What if it's there to strengthen you? Every time something doesn't go the way you expected, you're being handed a decision. You can either let it define you or develop you. And that mindset, that tiny shift in perspective, is where your power lies. Every setback is a setup for your strength. Not one of us is going to get through life without bruises. Not one of us is going to have a perfectly smooth path. That's not how growth works. Strength isn't built in comfort. It's built in resistance. It's built in those moments when you want to quit, but you don't. When everything says give up, but something in you says, no, keep going. Some of the strongest people didn't get that way because life was easy. They got strong because life wasn't. And they decided to stand up anyway. They took the hit, they regrouped, and they came back with more resilience than they had before. Not because they never struggled, but because they refused to let the struggle steal the lesson. You don't become resilient by avoiding pain. You become resilient by facing it and choosing to keep moving forward. So when something falls apart, when you feel like you're at the bottom, when the setback feels too heavy, pause and ask yourself, what is this building in me? Because maybe it's not here to block your path, but to prepare you for something bigger. Maybe that closed door is redirecting you to something that's actually aligned. Maybe that delay is giving you time to mature, to grow, to become the person who can handle what you're asking for. Sometimes the thing we think is punishment is actually preparation. It's hard to see that in the moment. I get it. In the middle of pain, clarity doesn't always show up right away, but give it time. Because when you look back, you'll see how some of the hardest seasons shaped you the most. They sharpened your voice. They deepened your compassion. They taught you patience, discipline, humility. Things you don't learn when everything goes your way. This is why we have to stop being afraid of failure. Stop being ashamed of the mess. That failure, it's feedback. That mess, it's material. You can build from it if you don't run from it. And no, I'm not saying setbacks are easy. They're not. But they're not wasted either. There's a strength in you that hasn't even been tapped yet, because it only gets revealed when things get real. And when it does, you come out stronger, steadier, more grounded. not in spite of the setback, but because of it. So if you're in a season right now where it feels like you're being broken down, remember this: you're not being buried, you're being planted. And when you rise, you won't be the same, you'll be better. Not just because you made it through, but because of who you became in the process. As what tried to break you is building something in you, and you're stronger than you think. Dykes. There's this pressure that creeps in, usually quiet but constant, the need to get it all right, to say the perfect words, to make the perfect decision, to execute the perfect plan. And for a lot of us, that pressure doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within. That inner voice that whispers, don't mess this up. Don't make sure it's flawless. If it's not perfect, it's not good enough. But let me tell you something that'll free you if you let it. As today, I choose progress over perfection, because perfection isn't real. It's not a standard. It's a trap. It keeps you stuck in planning instead of doing. It convinces you to wait until you feel ready, until the timing is right, until the outcome is guaranteed. And in the meantime, life keeps moving and you're still on the sidelines. See, perfection says, if I can't do it all, I won't do it at viral. Progress says, I may not have everything figured out, but I can take one step today, one honest step forward. That's where the power is. Not in the flawless execution, but in the consistent movement. And let's be real, most of the time, that push for perfection isn't about excellence. It's about fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being seen starting small. But you know what's more powerful than looking like you have it all together? Actually doing the work, actually growing, actually showing up imperfectly, but honestly. We've got too many people holding back their gifts because they're scared to look messy in the beginning. Too many voices we never hear. Too many ideas that never leave the notebook. Not because they weren't good, but because someone was waiting to be perfect first. Don't let that be you. Some of the most life-changing things you'll do won't be done perfectly. They'll be awkward. They'll be uncertain. You'll stumble. You'll learn in public. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's real. That's what growth looks like. It's gritty. It's clumsy. It's human. And the truth is, people don't connect with perfection. They connect with progress. They connect with your honesty, your effort, your resilience. That's what inspires. Not the polished version, but the process, the part where you decided to start anyway. So when the pressure builds to be the perfect parent, the perfect leader, the perfect partner, the perfect anything, remind yourself that's not the goal. The goal is to show up, to keep learning, to keep moving, to give yourself permission to evolve, not perform. Some days that'll look like big wins. Other days, it'll look like just getting out of bed and choosing not to quit. Both count, both matter. Progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's small, but it's always forward. And when you choose progress, something shifts. You start seeing mistakes as lessons instead of proof you're not enough. You start taking risks. You stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. And most importantly, you start trusting that who you are right now is enough to take the next step. So no, today doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be honest, grounded, intentional. You take the step. Then the next one, you fall. That's all right. You get up. That's progress. You learn, you adjust, you grow. Choosing progress over perfection doesn't lower the bar. It actually raises it, because it means you're committed to the long game. Not just a highlight reel, not just what looks good, but what's real, what's sustainable, what's yours. Perfection will keep you stuck. There comes a point where you start making different choices. You begin